So apparently this is a new thing from the Petscop guy? Something about a screensaver with randomly generated character interactions on an island. And it turns out that dark violent shit is secretly happening in it. Maybe something like Digital Circus but edgier? IDK. The Aziz video recommended reading through it ourselves first, so why not? So these are the 3dwi.scr discovery pages, and I guess we're starting with, what is it?
3dwi.scr is a freeware screensaver. The full title is 3D Workers Island, but most of us prefer to use its file name instead, pronounced 3D Whisker.
Oh, that's a way better way to pronounce it, haha.
In 3D Workers Island, 6 characters interact on a tiny island, with complex and unpredictable results. Every session tells a different story of the island. Many have found it to be compelling, on levels both technical and emotional. T2's top software gave it a 10 out of 10 score, and wrote about its characters. You will find yourself relating to them and understanding them. They may even confound you and anger you at times.
Okay.
The original source of the program is unknown. It was discovered at 3D Screensavers Palace, one of many aggregates of screensaver programs appropriated from sources across the internet. The owner of that website, by his own admission, sourced it from a similar screensaver aggregate that could not recall which one. It has not been found. See the history page for a history of 3D Whisker's discovery and spread, as well as the development of this website. We recommend trying 3D Whisker yourself by downloading it from the download page. The events that occur in 3D Whisker are not scripted. They unfold dynamically, and every session is different, which means you are guaranteed to see things that none of us have seen before. If you discover anything interesting or important that has not been recorded here or discussed on the forum, feel free to send us an email or create a thread on the forum asking about it, but please do not treat this as a place for tall tales.
Haha, the email with the hyphen in it, classic.
Check out the overview page for a more detailed introduction. 3D Whisper Discovery Pages was created by me, Pat Lawler or P. Lawler, and the technical side is largely run by Singer. See further info on the contact page.
Oh, and now the download page.
The 3D Whisker installer can be downloaded using any of the links below. It is a 4.22 megabyte download. This is a Windows executable exe file, and is only compatible with Windows operating systems. Run the installer and follow the steps on the installation wizard. Afterwards, if you are running Windows 95 or later, you can configure the screensaver by right-clicking on your desktop, choosing Properties, choosing the Screensaver tab, and selecting 3D Workers Island from the drop-down menu. From here you can start the program manually by clicking Preview. If you run into any trouble, create a thread on our forum and somebody is sure to help you out.
Ha, so retro.
You have chosen to download a file from this location. What would you like to do with this file? Save this file to disk.
Ha, and it takes so long, just for 4 megs.
Welcome. This installation program will install 3D Workers Island. Thank you for installing my program. Press the next button to start the installation. You can press the cancel button now if you do not want to install 3D Workers Island at this time. Installing. Installation completed. The installation of 3D Workers Island has been successfully completed. If you enjoy 3D Workers Island, please spread the word online. It would be much appreciated. Also, consider reading the readme.txt file because it includes a lot of interesting and useful information about the screensaver. Press the finish button to exit this installation.
And then the README text file.
3D Workers Island is an experimental 3D simulation screensaver for PCs with advanced worker simulation.
Advanced worker simulation, you say?
Get to know the characters. There are 6 characters on the island. Their names are Amber, Holland, Pat, Joe, Grace, Rebecca. To find out who's who, reference the character card that appears on Startup. Worker simulation. Workers are an approach to computation. 3D Workers Island takes advantage of resources in the world. Welcome to the world in the computer. This technology.
Oh whoop, alright then.
Screensaver. 3D Workers Island. Pat. Rebecca. Joe. Amber. Holland. Grace.
What is that? Oh.
World. 3D Whisker Discovery Boards. Posted by Ma Girl. Hey, I just want to say that this thing is so cool. My eyes are glued to it. I'm mesmerized. I just want to keep it on all day and see what's the people are up to, but my brother needs the computer for his work. What do you all think? And what's happening on your island today? Post by Mr. Crook. Yeah, it's a hidden gem of the internet. It kills that Johnny Castaway thing my uncle thinks is so good. This is better. Because the people are like real people you're watching, and you never know what's gonna happen next. I've seen dancing and squirming, the baffling games they play with objects, the awkward intimacy that looks like hugging sometimes and other times looks, pornographic frankly.
Okay.
Post by Bustard, responding to Mr. Crook, agreed. Responding to Ma Girl, Holland just put her face inside a tree.
Not good with faces or names, can't remember which one Holland is. What is that? A doll. Oh. Seems fine. Wait, are they looking at us?
Post by user 12. I think it's great but it's buggy. And it's just weird. My roommate keeps talking about how he could do it better. I'd like to see him try. He couldn't even program the turret in our tank game last semester. What an idiot. Post by user Homer. My ma hates TV but she tells me to put on the virtual people. I put 3DWI on the projector and she squints quietly in her recliner for hours. Peace for me. Post by Singer, Administrator. I like to keep it running in an alcove of my house and check up on it as I'm passing through. It's good for that. It can surprise you sometimes. The other day, I saw Joe take a remote-controlled helicopter out of the house and fly it around. I'd never seen that before.
Huh. Oh right, Singer, their signature says they're the designer and webmaster for these discovery pages.
Post by user Earl Egger. I keep hearing the stories about this thing, but so far, it's boring. I don't get it. I want to know what you guys are doing because I'm just starting up the program and watching it and nothing is happening. The people are standing around, sitting around, looking around, walking around. They don't have faces, so I don't know what they're feeling or thinking. I dunno. What's going on here, guys? Reply by P. Lawler, Administrator. Which characters are you talking about? You know, some people have worked hard enough in their lives and deserve a rest already. No, but seriously, what do you mean? I see plenty of activity on the island. I do feel a twinge of annoyance when I see a character like Amber sitting around. I want to tell her, hey, you're young, do something.
Okay, so apparently Amber is younger than the rest of them? That's the one in pink, right? And P. Lawler has some ableism to work on.
Post by user Ned Hucker. Actually, it does become entertaining over time, you just have to keep watching. I think you'll be surprised by what you see, but you do have to be kinda open to it. You have to be cool, and things will be shown to you. Personally, I love this screensaver. It's so fucked up.
Okay. Mixing bowl on the grass just for funsies, I guess. Is that one sitting there crying? No, blue flowers behind her. Still though. Twirly time? I mean, twirling on the beach sounds pretty chill. Was that the chef summoning twirl? Lol. So this is the 3D screensaver's palace place where it was found. And the description is way shorter and more ominously vague than all the rest, naturally.
3D Workers Island. Description, an island with people walking around on it.
Oh, so this kid is mowing the lawn while the chef lady chills. I guess that's probably what P. Lawler was defending before, about how some folks have already worked enough and deserve to rest. And clearly this kid is oh so lazy. Oh, back to the discovery pages.
Overview. What is this strange screensaver you have stumbled upon? The only way to really understand 3D Whisker is to try it. It works best without words, but I'll give you my best overview. When you start 3D Workers Island, it will display its 6 characters in a helpful character card that gives you a name for each one. Afterwards you will be placed in front of an island and you will mostly remain on that island until you decide to stop the program. The characters are powered by a kind of AI technology that the authors refer to as worker simulation. It is clear from simple observation that this tech should not be taken lightly, but just how advanced this AI is seems to be an ambiguous and controversial question in the community. It is very much a matter of intuition at this point. At the very least, it is good enough to capture the imaginations of many. Whatever is happening under the hood, it is taxing to any PC. The program seems to be fluid in this way. It will use whatever resources are provided to it, but can make do with just about any system that is capable of displaying the 3D graphics. Impressive or not as technology, you will find that this is a program of broad and infinite possibilities. Since retiring last November, I have been keeping 3D Whisker running on the desk in my study, in my bedroom, my living room, my kitchen, and my basement, all running around the clock as I do my household tasks and live my life. What I see on each of these PCs throughout the day is still continuously fresh and novel to me. It makes my home into a very pleasant little world. You will notice that the island is quiet. 3D Whisker does not play audio, unlike what you may find in the After Dark products and similar entertainment-based programs, but very much in line with the default package of screensavers in the Windows operating system such as 3D Maze and Mystify Your Mind. The significance of this silence is considerable. It allows the island to disappear. Despite its heft, it's also light. There is a sense of ghostly transience that none of it is really happening. And it can all vanish with the flick of a mouse.
Woof. Okay, went in for a hug and got rejected, it seems. Is that blonde one supposed to be a guy, or? Can't remember the name.
Post by user Frank Harper. This is for my son's island project for 1st grade, which took 2nd place in the contest. I'm proud of him. Okay, I will admit. He mostly played Pajama Sam while Mom and I built the island. But he did the written part of the assignment himself. Anyway, here are the photos. Post by user TPO. That's adorable. Post by user Bustard. Glad your son's school is teaching him about islands. Post by user Chris. Your living room is disgusting. Post by user I'm cool. Lol. Post by P. Lawler, administrator. You did a good job on the island. I have some advice. You should not do your son's work for him. Do not let him get used to the idea that you will do his assignments. Take it from a fellow parent. Response by user Frank Harper. Thanks, appreciated, but they were expecting parents to help with this one. You should see what the other kids brought in. Anyway, he did the written part as I said. Post by user Buddy. My son doesn't like 3D Workers Island one bit. It scares him and he makes me turn it off. Response by user Johnson. Kids are afraid of everything. My wife and I rented a tape of the Pagemaster to watch with her niece, and unfortunately we got to the moment where Macaulay Culkin's in the library and gets overtaken and drowned in rivers of paint. And suddenly the tape went nuts and became unreadable. Her niece started screaming. Now she's afraid of getting drowned in paint and turning into a cartoon. I don't blame the people who make that movie for making a terrified Macaulay Culkin character get drowned in paint. But some kids really do think it's possible to get swallowed up into a cartoon prison where they can't escape, and hell, if I believed that, I'd be afraid too.
Oof. Fucking flashbacks of that scene in the Chip and Dale movie that messes with us. Flounder. Is she walking backwards? Which one is that? I can't tell the damn blondes wearing blue apart. I think the other one was Holland, with the longer hair, and this one was Pat. But I don't remember if Pat was supposed to be a guy wearing shorts, or a chick wearing a skirt. Okay, I mean, it's vague enough that it could still go either way regarding possible CSA stuff. But hopefully it's just that they pushed her down? I dunno. I guess we'll see how things develop, but possible CSA warning just in case. But I'm sure Izzy's would have warned us about that before sending us to read this, if it actually went in that direction. So hopefully it's just ambiguous physical abuse stuff like this, instead of that. I dunno, I guess we're gonna find out.
Post by Good Kid, banned user. This happened back in October. In detention they had me sit in the computer lab where I ostensibly wasn't allowed to play on the computers. Lol, but my computer lab teacher was in their upgrading office, and I showed him 3DWI and explained it to him. I swear he was like, enchanted by it. He wanted to install it on all the computers. So we installed it on all the computers together while eating donut holes. We had some problems and I had to call my sweet and angelic mommy to tell her why I was still at school. But we eventually got it working after 7 p.m.
Sweet and angelic, you say?
We turned off the lights and started it going on every computer in the room. It was a powerful experience. Just all these different things happening on the island all around us, on glowing screens, in the dark and silent computer lab at night. Way better than 3D pipes. It felt like this was the way 3DWI was meant to be experienced. I recommend putting this thing on as many screens as you possibly can.
Okay. Guess we can consider that a suspiciously enthusiastic endorsement from a banned user with a signature saying, I don't know anything, I'm just a 14-year-old teenaged kid.
Post by user Joy C 22100. What were you in detention for? Post by Good Kid, banned user. Lol, dress code violations mainly. I also invented a fake skin disease called cuticuli and I started incorporating it into some of my written assignments in English and history even when it had nothing to do with anything. Post by Joy C 22100. Okay, I'll bite. Tell me about cuticuli. Post by Good Kid, banned user. I'm glad you asked. Cuticuli, skin disease with 4 stages. Stage 0, redness and sensitivity. Stage 1, skin gaps. Holes or gaps of various sizes, exposing dermis. Stage 2, skin islands. Widespread loss of epidermis, leaving only a number of skin islands of various sizes. Stage 3, recession of the islands. Leading to complete loss of epidermis. Early stages can be treated and reversed but stage 3 is irreversible. Stages 1, 2, and 3 are consistently rated 10 on the 1 to 10 pain scale. Screaming and hair pulling in despair.
Okie doke, so I guess we're already at the islands stage, huh? Are those dodgeballs? Wait, Are they looking at us again?
Post by user Joyce 22100. Who's your favorite character? Post by user Weird Tall Guy. Amber. Post by user Cheer. No question Amber. Post by user Reality Priest. Amber's the answer. Post by user Sax Player. If I had to choose a favorite, tough one. JK it's Amber, fuck everyone else. Post by user Ned Hucker. I'm offended that the question is even being posed. But I understand. You don't know any better. You're better off this way.
K.
Post by user Reality Priest. I know we're not supposed to talk about those topics here. But we can at least be honest when it comes to questions like this. I'm not gonna pretend my favorite character is Holland or Grace or somebody else just so things can stay clean on this forum.
Boy howdy am I gonna be irked if this turns out to be a bunch of internet assholes sexualizing the kid character or something.
Post by user Buddy. Can somebody fill me in on the joke here? What's wrong with the other characters? Post by P. Lawler, Administrator. Amber would be a good choice and may have been mine. But I am sometimes put off by her lazy tendencies. Naturally I would choose Pat, since by coincidence we share a name, and I believe the 2 children are hers. Another coincidence is I also have 2 daughters. However, I cannot help but feel attracted to Rebecca with her eye-catching red hair and shoes. It is a difficult question.
Attracted is a specific word. And apparently Holland and Amber are both kids and girls, okay. But Holland is allowed to get away with all kinds of basic kid stuff, it seems. Probably because she looks more like Pat herself.
Post by user I'm cool, Amber MFer.
Oh, okay. It looks like Holland is throwing something in the water. And then Amber's looking for it? And the sitting one back there either doesn't notice or doesn't care. I'm pretty sure it's Grace. Oh, okay. Some random person's computer philosophy page on GeoCities.
Computer Philosophy 1, Windows. There are windows everywhere we see them, and anyone could be looking in at you. That's a part of what makes them scary. But windows are even scarier when you're the one who looks in them. Because of when you never know what you'll see in them.
What? Oh okay. Intentional wonky grammar apparently.
Remember the enthusiasm in a market for window into reality in 1996, as the Nintendo 64 broke, once lore project reality. Of course the TV screen is really a window into fiction and not reality. The only real window of reality is the one we looked into as a baby and still cannot turn from.
Oof, that's one way to put it.
What called the common story theme of falling into asphalt imagery, we bring the inside into the outside, and the outside is the place we are stuck looking. This is the only meaning of I'm trapped in the TV. When we find out that reality is the thing we look into. But what does that mean? Where are we? What happens when something bad you find responsible for is there, and you do nothing to stop it, because it looks through a window and is not real? I'm trapped in here, and I may never return home. What do we mean?
Oh, and then the shapes on the screen leaving. Boy, so what's up with Pat
Island.
Oof, fuck's sake. Old ass aim jump scare.
Edward sucks 0. Wow, tell me more about that. Miss Toothpaste. So I was with my cousin last week for Thanksgiving. Since last year they live a 3 hours drive away. It got late, and he took me down a dark trail and scared the piss out of me talking about ghosts and murderers. In a quiet moment I thought I might change the subject, so I started talking about 3DWI apropos of nothing. Turns out he knew about it, which caught me off guard. Miss Toothpaste, and he carried on with the exact same tone as when he was talking about torture killers a moment earlier, but now talking about 3DWI. As if telling me about a conspiracy or something. He went on about the girl in the pink shirt, and gave me this long list of ominous things to pay attention to in the screensaver. Edward sucks 0. Oh, he's one of the Amber shitheads. Those people basically took down that old Discovery Pages website a couple years ago. Ruined a good thing. Miss Toothpaste, yeah? Anyway, when we got back, we watched 3DWI together until 2 a.m. on the slowest, crappiest computer in the world. We watched until the computer froze completely, but he told me it wasn't really frozen. That actually 3DWI does that on purpose in order to hide things that are happening. Edward sucks 0, question marks? Miss Toothpaste, I don't know. He was making things up on the spot. But I think they still meant something to him.
Oh, and now back to the boards. I guess at least a couple years back in time, then, from the AIM convo?
Post by user Buddy. Okay, so, I almost don't want to ask this at all, but I keep hearing certain implications about this screensaver that I don't want to repeat here, but you probably know what I'm talking about. I think maybe it's supposed to be a joke, but if so, I don't find it funny at all. Can somebody give me more info about this? Post by user Sax Player. Turn back now, don't go any further. Post by user Reality Priest. Stop sign. Post by user Ned Hucker. For your own peace of mind, stop this line of inquiry now and do something else. Don't become another one of his freaks.
Okay. Hopefully, freaks doesn't imply anything lewd or whatever, just that they're super fixated on it.
Post by user Reality Priest. Seriously, I wish I could go back to enjoying this screensaver normally. I want to be a normal person again. Please, God, let me forget. Post by user Ned Hucker. There are links that can be provided. If you really want them, I can send them to your email. Just let me know. Post by user Cheer. I'm no coward. Here's the link. P. Poller note. Link removed. Go ahead, enjoy. Post by user Ned Hucker. Yeah, that's not gonna last very long.
Okay. Lol chair glitch? Oh okay, lawn lamp hours I guess. Holland continuing to be allowed to do shit like that, noted. Oh, blacked out URL bar. Okay, guess we'll find out what this is.
Inside 3D Whisker. The windows of my living room, covering the walls with wide views of my front and backyards, fill the room with light during the day and an air of vulnerability during the night. My brother crashes here. He sleeps on the couch against the back windows. Sometimes we sit together, looking out those windows and tell stories about the house beyond my backyard. A man lives in that house with his 2 sons. The curtains are closed, and we imagine our own childhood replaying itself behind them. It's just a stupid game really, making up stories about the neighbor. I think of it as a way to bond over past experiences. Somehow we get emotional about it anyway, but not emotional enough to do anything, because of course, it's a stupid game. There's no point worrying about those children based on feelings and intuition alone.
Oof.
Still, we both find that our dreams become more vivid with time. Lately we've grown exhausted of that game, but recently I downloaded 3D Workers Island. It plays on a PC in the corner of my living room. You should check out this program. It's a screensaver, which means it only starts when you aren't using your computer. But when it starts, you're on an island. There are people around, but they don't do much. Not when they're outside anyway.
Ah.
Naturally you wonder what they might be doing inside the windowless red house in the background. That's when things start to go wrong. When you start wondering that. And now we begin another game. As in life, concern begets more concern. The reality is always worse than you think it is. No matter how much you learn, it's always worse. And the only escape is to stop asking, to stop digging, to stop learning.
Haha yeah, that is one of the more fucked up aspects of being an abused kid. Remembering times when someone had to have seen something concerning, but they were either similarly powerless to stop it, or it just wasn't quite worth the investment of risking getting involved enough to actually help.
This is your chance to stop.
Nope.
The preferred resource for all things 3D Workers Island is called 3D Whisker Discovery Pages. Created and maintained by Pat Lawler, it covers everything a reasonable person would want to know. You should browse her website first if you haven't already, because it's quite good. But Pat Lawler doesn't see what we see, or chooses not to. I've created a different kind of resource. Here, I take your sightings and I display them for the benefit of others. Together we play this game the way it's meant to be played. Welcome to my website, Inside 3D Whisker. Beyond here are themes of violent abuse and torture. Continue if you can handle that.
Okay, well, if they're dropping content warnings for abuse and torture, surely they would have also mentioned something CSA related, if things were gonna go that way? So hopefully not, and that one part was just vaguely illustrated before.
Post by Administrator P. Lawler. I removed your link because it breaks the following rule. Rules wrote, Rule 5. Do not post links to the website. You know the one. It is nothing more than a collection of perverted creative writing prompts.
Perverted is very specific wording for something that has yet to include a CSA warning anywhere, but okay.
I would not usually be so strict about something like this, but clearly there are too many here who cannot stay reasonable and sane while discussing the content of this particular website. So I must make the hard decision of banning it. You can guess what I think about this topic, but let me try to explain the phenomenon occurring here. The fact is, many internet users are children and young adults, and children like to play games. What this means is, you will occasionally find yourself unknowingly pulled into the games played by children. On the website, you will primarily find stories told by kids to scare other kids.
That sure is one way to dismiss people.
You will also find so-called analysis of these stories that treats them as true fact to give them legitimacy. But there is no evidence to be found there. I hope I have cleared things up for you, buddy. Post by user Cheer. Shut up, Pat. Anyway, more links. members.aol.com/John Sorrowway. Good info about John Sorrowway. geocities.com/welcome to my world. Stories of reality. Post by Administrator Singer. Thank you P. Lawler. Well said. Those violent stories are cheesy and over the top. Blood and guts. Believe me, I've been watching this program for so long, I would have seen such things by now.
Loud eye roll. That's what most people assume about abuse, as if it's so hard for an abuser to behave in acceptable ways when witnesses are around, then switch it up later when everyone else is gone.
Post by user Cheer. If the screensaver won't open up to you, maybe you need to look within yourself to find the problem.
Oh right. You have to be receptive, or whatever to be shown things. So I guess anyone siding with P. Lawler this way might not be receptive enough.
Post by Sax Player, replying to Singer. You'd love to think it's all just bloody screaming children. Long before I began seeing the violent shit, I saw the way Amber was treated by the other islanders. I saw her tiredness. I saw her subtle messages, but you just point at the bleeding children and laugh. Alright then.
Woof. Alright, here's where it starts getting a lot more detailed, I guess.
Post by user HTML Maniac. Why is it always Amber who gets abused and killed in these made-up scenarios? Don't get why this community has an obsession with torturing her specifically. You're all freaks and sociopaths is my best guess. Post by administrator P. Lawler. Maybe I should create my own section for dealing with 3D whisker hoaxes. Snopes.com has a good system for these.
R.I.P. Snopes.
Ratings key. Green sphere for true, red sphere for false, green and red spheres for multiple truth values, yellow sphere for undetermined, white sphere for unclassifiable veracity. I would give every one of these stories the red sphere of falseness. False, false, false.
Future editing sigh. The red sphere of falseness, you say.
P. Lawler replying to HTML Maniac. Good question. People have a strange amount of concern for Amber. It is a mystery to me.
Wait, she thinks the weird part is how concerned people are?
Post by user 12 point. Jesus fucking Christ, that website. The screenshots and pictures on there are insane. Some of them are obviously straight out of Photoshop. Others I don't know. They're all low quality JPEGs for what it's worth. Makes it easy to hide flaws.
Oh, alright Holland, have fun I guess. Wait, did they lock this one out of the house while they're abusing the other one? Oh, back to this place.
Inside 3D Whisker. Welcome to Inside 3D Whisker. Here you'll find the content missing from P. Lawler's 3D Whisker discovery pages. Her website should be your source of general information about the screensaver, but come back here when you're done. Pick a category on the left and browse our collection of user-submitted sightings. Download 3D Whisker and let us know what you find by submitting a sighting. Thanks for visiting and telling us your stories. Categories: hidden messages, photographs, screams, whispers, glitches. Oddities, real life, just for fun. Recent updates. April 25, 1999. I'm receiving so many emails about this Sam Ferraro business. Though there's not much contention in whether the screenshot of Amber's rare black shirt is real, there's a lot of disagreement about whether the picture on her shirt is really of Sam Ferraro, since it doesn't exactly match any of the known, publicly released photos of him. I've expanded the section to include some of your comments. On the subject of photos, I've removed a user-submitted photo from PJR Pin at the request of its original owner.
PJR Pin.
I'm planning on overhauling the categories soon. More details to come. April 24, 1999. Added a link to Grace's guilt. Great quote. Lucky for that girl, her story became an urban legend. Most people don't believe it really happened, even if they are fascinated anyway. A perfect disappearing act, the real transforming into fiction. Now she lives her disgraceful retirement in the remote world of a cartoon, but reality will haunt her conscience forever.
Dang. Alright.
Added some more user submissions to worker degeneration. April 23, 1999. Added an avalanche of screenshots to strange faces. I can't believe people are walking to the bathroom at night and seeing these things. Making this website has convinced me to never run 3D Whisker after bedtime. Thank you P. Lawler. No sounds? No faces? Wrong on both counts. April 21, 1999. Falling behind on emails. Sorry everybody, but pray for my brother because he's been having a hard time lately. He's in the hospital now. Sometimes you've been broken in ways that don't hit you until decades later. I expect my turn to come soon.
Haha, woof, decades later, indeed.
When that day comes, my brother will be alive to support me, but for now, let's go.
Oh. Is that their equivalent of making out, or? So they're just really going at it then, in front of this abused kid.
Inside 3D Whisker, PJR Pin. The PJR Pin is one of 3D Whisker's first popular sightings. The letters PJR stand for Pat, Joe, and Rebecca, 3 characters on the island. When these 3 adults approach Amber in the following formation, facing her, it's called a PJR Pin. Credit to P. Lawler for the icons. Amber is in the center of the formation. The PJR Pin isn't complete unless all 3 adults are close enough to prevent Amber from moving, or in other words, to pin her in place. This is a very strict and specific requirement that is not met often. Formations in this particular shape are uncommon between any 4 characters. When they do form, they're spontaneous and brief. They'll usually reorganize themselves into more stable circles, or rather, diamonds, like this. Why is the PJR Pin significant? According to the stories, it triggers the following sequence of events. 1. All 4 characters disappear instantaneously. 2. The world is replaced with darkness. 3. In that darkness appears a photograph of a child in clothes that resemble Amber's pink stripes. She is sometimes injured, sometimes not. 4. An audio clip of a young woman's scream, or multiple screams, play from the speakers. It's usually interpreted as Amber's voice, but sometimes as the voice of an off-camera witness.
Grace, I guess.
5. The world reappears. Pat, Joe, Rebecca, and Amber reappear at the front door of the house one by one. Amber is the last to appear. No evidence of the event remains.
Boy, okay.
Most accounts miss the first 3 steps in the sequence. It's only when they hear the screams that they start paying attention to what's happening on the screen. 3D Whisker doesn't officially play audio, but many stories report sounds. They usually describe very loud or very quiet sounds, like screams or whispers with little in between. We have a page just for whisper-related sightings, most involving Amber's pleas for help. Much pride is taken in the skill of recognizing these whispers as quickly as possible, since they often precede other events for which screenshots are desirable. No whispers precede the PJR pin, unfortunately. Photographs are also a common theme in these sightings. 3D Whisker appears to have a heavy preoccupation with the real world, and in particular with real human bodies. From living and healthy to mangled or emaciated or dead. In this case, even when Amber doesn't display any physical injuries, her transformation into a human body is often interpreted as an act of violence itself. In general, any movement between fiction and reality, in either direction, is treated with an undertone of terror.
Woof, no kidding. Okay, so yeah, I guess this is the extent of the edgy shit, without getting into graphic or explicit CSA stuff, though. If the whole thing is that the kid is being secretly abused in the house, while the abusers behave acceptably outside where people can see them, and those two were apparently super comfortable just really going at it making out in front of the abused kid and the public audience, then one does wonder what else they were comfortable doing in front of the abused kid, behind closed doors. I guess we can call that implied CSA as far as content warnings go.
Descriptions of the photo vary. It may be that people are seeing the same photo and remembering it differently. It's not hard to believe that a disturbing and sudden scream is shocking people into seeing or remembering injuries that aren't there. But it's also possible that 3D Whisker is displaying different photos of the same girl at varying levels of injury, perhaps dependent on the context of the simulation, as Amber's plight has been shown to progress in severity over time. Who is the girl in the picture? Until we have a legitimate screenshot, we have little to go on. And this one has proven challenging to capture. G-key.
Huh, okay, so I guess it'll just mostly be words then, no imagery, if no one's gotten the screenshot yet?
Jake the Mad Cow had quite a fright. He writes, I'm never running it overnight ever again. Holy shit, it woke me the fuck up. I've never been so scared in my entire life. I was asleep and then an ear-splitting scream. What the fuck? P. Lawler lied to me. Her website says that there's no sound in the screensaver. Well, guess what? There's sound MFR. Ashley B. heard it too, and caught a look at something interesting. Ashley writes, because it was the last thing I'd ever expected to happen in 3D Workers Island, I have to admit I was jolted and shaking for a good hour afterwards. I knew the discovery pages were wrong about other things, but somehow this one thing I trusted. And well, my volume was turned up quite high, so it was really something else. I only got the shortest glimpse at the screen before it reverted back to the status quo. It was dark, but I saw the dim shape of a human. Realistically proportioned, dressed in pink and white. Like Amber. A photograph, I think. It wasn't moving. Harold has an uglier description. Ah, it was bad. Oh my god. Lol. I can only laugh now. But I'm done with this screensaver now. For real this time. I think it one scream repeated 3 or 4 times, or maybe it was more than one scream. And the image was a tasteless display of,
oh whoop, okay then. Oh. Group meeting with everyone but Pat and Amber, okay. I guess they're probably in the house together. Is that a laptop?
Post by user Reality Priest. It's getting worse and worse. The more I watch, the more I notice. The more I understand, the more bold it becomes with the things it shows me. Every time I come to some new revelation, the screensaver shows me more. But most other people don't see these things. And if I have someone in the room with me, they don't happen. Post by HTML Maniac. Are you telling me P. Lawler, with the 10 billion hours she's been watching 3D Workers Island, hasn't seen any of these things?
She certainly does seem to be invested in controlling the narrative of what's going on with the virtual family unit in this screensaver.
Post by user Chris. Getting dangerous in here, lol.
Okay, Darkwing, haha.
Post by band user Good Kid, replying to HTML Maniac. Pat Lawler is a criminal. I have family who used to live down the street from her. Nobody in their right mind would trust Pat Lawler. Pat Lawler shouldn't be allowed to run a 3D Workers Island fan website. She should be in prison. Anyone who wants details is free to message me. I'm GoodKid85 on AIM.
If they're already banned, I'm surprised Pat didn't censor that like the link before, so no one could talk to this kid. Or kid, anyway. Kinda getting a vibe like those brothers might actually be her kids trying to fight against her censorship or something.
Post by user Chris. Damn it, good kid, ha 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 ha. Post by user Sax Player. And he's banned. That was fast. Post by weird tall guy. P. Lawler is always online. She reads every post the second you submit it. You cannot evade her.
Like literally always online. Snark. Guess so. Oh, back to this place.
Inside 3D Whisker, Worker Degeneration, update April 24, 1999. I've decided to stop posting new submissions to this page. This is one of the most well-documented sightings. And at this point I'm receiving mostly redundant info. Thanks for everything you've sent in. Worker degeneration is something akin to injury or damage. This damage is associated with an active entity, which 3D Whisker calls a worker, hence the name of this page. It's not clear to me how this term came about. It wasn't invented by 3D Whisker's authors. Yet it implies a bit of knowledge about the screensaver's internals, that the injury is associated in some fundamental way with the underlying worker concept. This is especially strange since the only documented cases of worker degeneration are tied to one character, that being Amber. Therefore it seems premature to generalize this term to such an extent. But I'll use the established name. If you've ever seen a red amber, you've seen worker degeneration. This is an early stage. After this comes compression, and the result looks like this. This red ball is seemingly inert. It doesn't move or interact with anything. But yes, the red ball is amber.
Oh boy.
This state has been interpreted as representing dehydration, malnutrition, and/or mutilation, and the many photographic sightings seem to confirm all of these interpretations equally. But most of all it's become associated with small, muffled screaming. And therefore with pain.
Ha ha ha, oh boy.
It doesn't take long for this red ball to start shrinking and quieting down. Until sooner or later it can't be seen or heard anymore.
Cackles in dissociative identity disorder. The wheelbarrow.
Amber will usually respawn from the house at some time after compression, even while the red ball is still visible.
Agonized uncontrollable laughter continues. Oh no, that's too accurate.
The program will eventually continue as usual.
Ha ha ha, yeah, it sure will, won't it? If you dismiss and dehumanize it for long enough. Childhood self-soothing response activated, draws stars. More stars. So many stars.
Chicken honk.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it, just. Woo boy, was not braced for anything so horribly relatable and resonant, ha ha. Yeah, I think it's fine, just might be doing a bit more of this for a sec. Yeah, okay, I think we're pretty close to the end, should be okay to finish it. Oh, and this G-key person has the same initials as Good Kid. Not a coincidence, I imagine.
Falling into asphalt tells us a story. Letting the screensaver go longer periods has unlocked something, and now I'm seeing all sorts of funny shit like a red amber. She goes in the house, comes out redder, goes behind the house, comes back redder again, comes back weird and slow, crawls around until pop she's just a ball on the ground that everyone ignores, and that's that.
Ha ha ha, yep, that's that.
Nathan Manfield kept the screensaver running all day and writes, I went away for 8 hours and when I got back there's a bunch of red spheres scattered around and making noise. Altogether it sounded like a chorus of dissonant humming. Now I'm wondering just how long my dog had to listen to that shit.
Ha ha ha, ooh boy.
This one is from Thomas. How many of them are sitting at the bottom of the ocean?
Ha ha ha, right?
I just can't help but feel hopeless about everything. Nobody will ever help me, and I'll never help myself. I'm too afraid even to reach out. I'm not even writing this right now. This message exists only in my head. This whole website exists only in my head. 3D Workers Island? What is this? Would I really put this online? Would I really give anyone the slightest glimpse into my world? This is fake. This is all fake, and nobody will ever see it.
Woof. Alright, so this one's claiming to have uploaded it.
To Thomas, I hear you, and I understand. Suffering in silence is such hard work.
Bursts out laughing painfully again. Isn't it though? What? Oh. Oh boy, ha ha, there are other colors too. How many of them, indeed?
Recession of the Islands.
Ah, the irreversible heart. Painful snurclaw. Ah, yep. Ain't that just how it goes? Sigh. Ah. Screaming off screen. Ah. Ah, it's everywhere but nobody wants to see it, but it's happening everywhere. Ah, how many? Fucking hell. Just fuck my shit up, why don't you? Ha ha ha. Future editing sigh. Oh holy shit, good kids icon. Did we get banned by Pat, too? Oh, that's the end. Ugh. Goddamn, well done Tony Domenico, Jesus fucking Christ. So yeah, would definitely recommend this one, with some serious content warnings. It's not every day you see something capture extremely specific abuse dynamics like this. Especially without being super graphic or gory. It'd be nice if more people understood that you really don't need all that to convey the horrors, you know? Like, just that one frame split into multiple views, confirming how widespread it is. What a fucking gut punch, goddamn. Tony, if you somehow see this and you ever wondered if just the one split frame would be enough, instead of doing more splits, yes, that absolutely worked. And frankly, no amount of splits would have been enough, huh? So yeah, that's a definite recommend from us. You can check it out at yes-thread.com/3dwiscr or on itch.io. That said, in terms of accessibility, it's just a bunch of still images, so there isn't any sound, but TalkBack didn't pick up any alt text for the pictures, so hopefully, the subtitles and description we made for this video can help with that. Not professionals, but we gave it a shot. So yeah, guess that's it for this one. Hydrate, take your meds. Mask at the ER and grocery store. Later.